Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Loading. In this episode, we're gonna just chill and just do something simple. And if you're like a total beginner of like a Sverchok add-on, this is kind of like something that you can try. Like I said, it's a good idea to start with one of these generators node. And today, I'm just gonna look at one of the old nodes. It's the plain nodes. But as you can see, sometimes we get the updated versions. So this is the old version. This is the new one. You can kind of compare the difference. Usually MK2 is like the updated version, and you can kind of test it out what this node does. And the easiest to test is you can use viewer draw or viewer bmesh MK2. With a viewer draw, you usually get this kind of preview, and the next thing you want to do is probably like test it out one of these parameters, and you can see, okay, that's kind of does that, and you can kind of guess, okay, center is centering this plane. Okay, that's the old plane, and except for this separate thing that you might sometimes the node has some option that's kind of doesn't make quite sense, so you probably want to check out the help documentation, whether it's online or offline. So give that a try. Separate is something that I need to kind of display what it does. Other than using the preview, you can also use the viewer bmesh MK2, which is, if you look at in the outliner at the moment, there's nothing in 3D view. But if you plug this guy in there, you start to see that it's generating the points right away. And if you plug the polygon data, you get like a full mesh object. If you plug in the edges, you get, of course, the edges. So that's kind of handy. Now, this is the old plane node, but like I said, there's also this option called separate. I'll explain it in the Plane MK2. So now let's switch to Plane MK2. This is the updated versions by one of the Sverchok developers, and you can use the viewer draw, of course, and then you can view the vertices, the edges, and the face, of course, and you can kind of play around with the parameters. This guy can also center itself, but in this case we get more options, like to make the plane in XY axis or XY plane, YZ, ZX, or for this is all like for our convenience. We can also normalize it. In this case, normalize it, I think, making it into like a maybe 1 unit or something. But you can kind of tell the difference. You just give it a try, just play around with the parameters. Sometimes the parameters can be very sensitive. Be careful, don't make it like, don't scrub and then make it like 1000 points. Sometimes it's you can end up with a lot of data right away. Just be careful with that. So you can actually with the normalize on, you cannot control the the stepping anymore, so turn it off. So now you can still control the stepping in X and Y. And there is also control for, oh, actually with normalize we have extra option here that's controlling the size, so we can kind of change the dimensions the way we like it. If we like it, we can also link this and constrain these dimensions. So it's very, very handy. Depending on what you want to do with it, you can have it in any axis or plane as you like. So cool, that's very cool. And one more options that's kind of a little bit strange is this separate. If you turn on separate, the data itself actually changes. If I show it to you using the stethoscope, the data is changed slightly. So there's like this extra list array happening. Maybe I'll show you using the uh, viewer text, and let's make this 10 by 10 or actually 4 by 4. If we plug that in and view it, we can check it out. So that's the original data. If I turn on separate, the structure changes. And that's actually useful if we are using the UV connection node. This is actually by design. Since the very beginning, a Sverchok developer have this kind of idea. If you wanna have this kind of design, like a structure, you can use these separate options, and then use this slice option, and then you can have this kind of result. It's really depending on your need. Sometimes you do want this. Yeah, it's actually if you are working with UV connections. Other than that, with a plane, sometimes the things that I like to do is sometimes it's a polygon boom. Maybe that's kind of useful. Polygon boom is like this guy can separate all the faces for you. So if we're separating this guy using polygon boom, right away you can see there's this number 9. That means we are separating all the faces, or the polygons now separate objects. If we bake it, we actually get all this separate polygon face. That's what a polygon boom is for. If you are separating all the faces, you can also, let me save this real quick. This is just a Plane Explore. You can also kind of doing scaling. So now, since they are all separate, we can just plug this guy in and kind of scale it. Maybe we need to have the center of the polygon. So center of the polygon goes in there, and then origins go in there, and then we can scale it like that. So that's very, very handy. Sometimes this option like separate and not separate is very, very important. If you're not sure, just give it a test, Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it with the explorations of Plane MK2. So I suggest you, if you're like the total beginner of this node-based workflow using Sverchok add-on, start with the generators, line, plane, and go on. There are many now. There are many already to choose from, and you can test it all. And if you're not sure, just look at the documentation here, online or offline, and it should give you. Most of the nodes have some kind of documentation. If it doesn't have any documentation, you can go to Sverchok GitHub and search in the forum for that. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for this live noding. It's pretty easy. I encourage you to give it a try, and if you have any comments, suggestion, just let me know in the down below. So thank you. I'll see you in the next video.